All right, Warriors fans, buckle up because there's a lot going on around the team right now, and I know you don't want to miss any of it. Golden State has been pretty quiet throughout most of the summer, but just when people start to relax and think things are slowing down, boom, another headline comes out of the Bay. Let's start with the newest face wearing blue and gold, because yes, the Warriors have added another name to the roster ahead of training camp. His name is Tavon Kinsey, and while you may not know much about him yet, his story is actually one of those classic underdog NBA journeys that could end up surprising a lot of people if he gets a shot. Kinsey comes in on what's called an Exhibit 10 contract. For those who aren't familiar, that basically means he's here on a training camp invite, and he'll have to prove himself against the rest of the group if he wants to earn even a two-way deal. It's a long shot, sure, but sometimes these are exactly the kinds of guys who sneak onto a roster because of work ethic, versatility, or just filling a very specific need. Kinsey is listed at 6'5" and 190 pounds, and he's been trying to break into the league since going undrafted back in 2023. He's already tasted a little G League action, but not much. Just 3 total games so far with the Salt Lake City Stars. Still, those short minutes gave us some glimpses of what he can do. In 2 appearances this past season, he put up an impressive 16.5 points per game, dropped a 33-point performance, pulled down 11 rebounds, and showed some defensive presence with steals and blocks. Yes, the sample size is tiny, but you can tell he knows how to score when he gets the opportunity. Now, if you rewind to his college career, this is where things get really interesting. Tavon Kinsey left Marshall University as the all-time leading scorer in program history. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a school that has produced some really solid bucket getters over the years, and Kinsey ended up surpassing them all. He spent 5 years at Marshall, steadily improving until his senior season where he averaged over 22 points per game. The guy could fill it up from anywhere on the court, mid-range, attacking the rim, and even from deep when his confidence was rolling. His three-point shooting numbers fluctuated wildly from season to season, one year looking really sharp at over 40%, the next dipping under 20%. That inconsistency is probably part of the reason NBA scouts didn't jump at him during the draft. But when you watch him play, it's clear he has offensive polish, and that could help him stand out compared to Golden State's most recent second-round draft picks, who still look pretty raw at the pro level. What makes this signing more than just a filler spot is that the Warriors actually do have an open lane for someone like Kinsey to sneak into the mix. Training camp is going to be competitive, but Golden State is still searching for depth on the wing, and if Kinsey shows he can be efficient, defend multiple positions, and keep the ball moving in Steve Kerr's system, he might at least land a two-way slot. Plus, he was also chosen to represent the G League United squad at the upcoming FIA International Cup this fall. That's not something they hand out randomly. It shows that people in the league see talent and potential in his game. For Kinsey, it's all about seizing the moment, and maybe this signing will finally be the break he's been grinding toward. While that's intriguing news on its own, the Warriors' rumor mill did not stop there. In fact, something even wilder started making waves when an anonymous NBA executive tried to compare Jonathan Kaminga to Paul George. Yeah, you heard that right. According to this exec, Kaminga's current role with Golden State is somehow similar to Paul George's early days with the Indiana Pacers. That's the kind of comparison that makes you stop in your tracks because on the surface, it just doesn't add up. George came into the league as a polished college product, already 20 years old, with 2 seasons at Fresno State under his belt. Kaminga, meanwhile, joined the NBA straight out of the G League Ignite at only 18 years old, still raw, still figuring out what kind of player he wanted to be. By the time Paul George was 22, he was an all-star, putting up monster numbers and establishing himself as one of the best two-way wings in the league. Kaminga is 22 right now, and let's just be honest, he's nowhere close to that level. The exec's reasoning seemed to focus on the idea that both players were drafted into teams that were competing for playoff success while still developing young talent. But even that logic doesn't hold up when you actually look at the details. When George arrived in Indiana, the Pacers were still climbing out of the lottery, and Danny Granger was their star player. As fate would have it, Granger's injuries opened the door for George to step into a starring role. The timing worked perfectly. and George had the skill set to take advantage. Kaminga hasn't had that kind of scenario. When he's missed time, Golden State has actually thrived without him, including a 13-2 stretch last year when Jimmy Butler, who had just joined the roster, carried the team without much help from Kaminga at all. And unlike George, who was hitting threes at above-average rates early in his career, Kaminga's shooting has never reached that level. He still struggles with consistency from beyond the arc, which is critical in today's NBA, especially when playing alongside stars who need spacing around them. Now, I'm not saying Kaminga doesn't have upside. He's strong, athletic, and when he attacks the rim with confidence, he can put pressure on defenses. But to throw his name in the same conversation as a 9-time All-Star and perennial All-Defensive candidate like Paul George is just, well, it's stretching reality to the point of breaking. Maybe that anonymous exec had his own motives. Some fans online even speculated it might have been Kaminga's own agent trying to spin a narrative, though that hasn't been proven. Regardless, the comparison sparked a firestorm of debate because it highlights just how polarizing Kaminga has become. Some people still see him as the next big breakout star, while others think his development has stalled and he'll never be more than a role player on a contender. The truth probably lies somewhere in between, but Golden State doesn't have unlimited patience to find out. And that leads directly into the biggest storyline surrounding the Warriors right now. Will Kaminga even finish this season in a Warriors uniform? According to a recent ESPN poll of league executives and insiders, Golden State sits at the very top of the list of teams most likely to make a blockbuster move during the season. They received more votes than the Lakers, the Cavaliers, the Pelicans, and even the Sixers. The logic is pretty straightforward. The Warriors have been positioning themselves all summer for flexibility at the trade deadline. Reports even surfaced that their 2-year, $45 million contract offered to Kaminga was designed less to lock him up long-term and more to give them a tradable salary slot that could be moved in January once restrictions lift. In other words, they want him under contract so he could be part of a bigger deal. Think about it. When Paul George was 22 years old, he was already an all-star. He was playing 37 minutes a night, putting up over 20 points per game, and shutting down elite scorers on the other end. He had already shown flashes of being a number one option. Jonathan Kaminga, at 22, has yet to carve out a consistent role. Sometimes he looks like he's turning the corner, flying down the lane, finishing through contact, flashing the kind of explosiveness that makes you wonder if he could be a star. Other times, he drifts, loses focus, or struggles to impact the game when the ball isn't in his hands. That inconsistency is why people are so split. To some, he's still a raw project. To others, he's one leap away from being a cornerstone. The Warriors, though, can't afford to sit around and find out years from now. Their timeline is tied to Steph, Draymond, and Clay, and patience is not a luxury they have. That's why the ESPN survey hit Warriors fans like a thunderclap. The league consensus is that Golden State is the team most likely to shake things up mid-season. They were ranked above the Lakers, above Cleveland, above the Pelicans, and above Philadelphia. That's not by accident. Everyone sees the writing on the wall. Golden State has been setting the table for a trade. They extended Kaminga in a way that makes his contract easy to move. They didn't lock themselves into massive long-term deals for the rest of the supporting cast. They've essentially kept the door wide open for flexibility. And when you're talking about a franchise with the track record of Golden State, a front office that's never been shy about making bold moves, that combination makes for one of the most dangerous wild cards in the NBA. Now, let's pause for a second and imagine what that move could look like. If the Warriors actually decide to move on from Kaminga, it won't just be a simple swap. It'll be part of something bigger, something designed to bring in a player who can make a real difference right now. Maybe it's another scoring wing to take some pressure off Steph. Maybe it's a versatile big who can shore up the defense and give them an inside presence they've lacked since the days of Andrew Bogut and prime Draymond. Maybe it's a do-it-all forward who can slide into the lineup seamlessly and give them a chance to compete against the younger, faster teams out west. Whatever it is, the expectation is clear. Golden State won't move Kaminga unless they believe the return can actually tilt the scales in their favor this season. Of course, the risk here is obvious. Trading a young talent like Kaminga means you're betting fully on the present and closing the door on whatever he might become down the road. If he breaks out on another team, people will look back and say the Warriors gave up too soon. But on the flip side, holding on to him while he continues to underwhelm could waste one of Steph Curry's final prime years. It's a classic NBA dilemma, and Golden State is right at the center of it. That's why emotions are running high, and every little quote or rumor sparks so much debate. Meanwhile, let's not forget that the Warriors are still integrating Jimmy Butler into the mix. Butler's arrival raised expectations instantly, but it also complicated the rotation. He needs the ball, he commands minutes, and his presence changes the roles of everyone else on the roster. Kaminga in particular has been squeezed, and that's part of the reason his future looks uncertain. Golden State has been winning when Butler is on the court, even without Kaminga contributing much, and that only fuels the narrative that he's expendable. Contrast that with Paul George's situation a decade ago, when Danny Granger's injury opened the lane for George to explode, and you see just how different the two paths really are. Butler isn't going anywhere. He's too central to what the Warriors want to do. That means if someone is going to be sacrificed for the greater good, Kaminga is the obvious candidate. And then there's the bigger picture. Around the league, executives and media members know the Warriors can't stand pat. The West is brutal. Denver isn't going anywhere with Jokic in his prime. Dallas is dangerous with Luka and Kyrie clicking. Oklahoma City is only getting better, younger, faster. Minnesota, Phoenix, Sacramento, all of these teams are in the mix, hungry and improving. Golden State can't rely on nostalgia or hope. They have to act. That's why ESPN's poll carried so much weight, because it wasn't just one person saying it. Multiple voices from across the league believe the Warriors are the team most likely to go all in, and that tells you everything you need to know about the pressure building in the Bay. Here's the part that really makes this compelling. Everyone knows the breakup between the Warriors and Kaminga is inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Maybe it happens the second trade restrictions lift in January. Maybe it drags out until the deadline in February. Maybe, in the most unlikely scenario, they ride it out and let him walk after the season if no deal materializes. But one way or another, this partnership is heading for a split. The only question left is how much value Golden State can extract in return. Do they flip him for a solid starter? Do they package him with draft capital for a bigger fish? Do they use him to offload another contract? These are the scenarios the front office is weighing right now, and each option carries its own risks and rewards. For fans, it's both exciting and nerve-wracking. On one hand, there's the thrill of possibility. The idea that Golden State could land another star, another piece to push them back into contention, gets the imagination running wild. On the other hand, there's the fear of making the wrong move. Trade Kaminga too soon and watch him blossom somewhere else, and it becomes another what-if moment. Wait too long and watch the window close on Curry, and it's a different kind of regret. That's the tightrope the Warriors are walking, and it's why every rumor, every quote, every little piece of news feels like it carries extra weight. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. Whispers are circulating throughout the basketball world as tensions reportedly rise within the Golden State Warriors locker room, following comments attributed to head coach Steve Kerr that have sent shockwaves through the NBA community. According to sources close to the organization, Kerr has allegedly threatened to bench one of his star players if certain behaviors continue, sparking speculation, intrigue, and heated debates among fans, analysts, and former players alike. This alleged threat, if true, represents a dramatic shift in team dynamics, particularly given the Warriors' recent history of relying heavily on their marquee talent to secure victories in critical matchups. Conversations in sports circles suggest that the star in question may not be adhering to team strategies or defensive assignments, though details remain murky, leaving much room for conjecture. Industry insiders are dissecting every public interaction, on-court performance, and cryptic social media post, attempting to decode what may have prompted Kerr to consider such a drastic measure. Meanwhile, rumors are fueling fan forums and sports talk shows, where analysts speculate whether this decision could redefine the power balance within one of the NBA's most storied franchises. Even casual observers have begun noticing subtle shifts in rotation patterns and minutes allocation, though nothing has been confirmed officially, leaving the basketball world on edge as speculation continues to mount. The implications of such a decision, according to multiple analysts who spoke off the record, could be monumental, affecting not only team morale, but also the Warriors' playoff prospects. While Steve Kerr has long been celebrated for his calm demeanor and strategic brilliance, the purported threat to bench a star player introduces a narrative rarely associated with his leadership style, thereby amplifying the intrigue surrounding this unfolding drama. Players and coaching staff are reportedly caught between professional loyalty and personal frustration, navigating a situation where speculation is intensifying faster than official communication can provide clarity. Observers note that internal conflicts, when they leak externally, can shift the perception of an entire organization, creating a ripple effect that touches media narratives, fan sentiment, and even betting odds for upcoming games. Meanwhile, rival teams are allegedly monitoring the situation closely, sensing a potential vulnerability that could be exploited on the court. In locker rooms across the league, conversations are said to revolve around how a single publicized threat might influence not only performance, but also contract negotiations, endorsement deals, and long-term player development. Even among dedicated Warriors fans, forums and comment sections have become a fertile ground for both speculation and concern, highlighting the delicate balance between team cohesion and individual stardom in a league dominated by superstar narratives. Speculation has intensified further as insiders hint at underlying tensions that may have been simmering for months, suggesting that this rumored ultimatum is not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of ongoing disagreements between coaching staff and key players. Sources suggest that minor clashes during practices and disagreements over defensive schemes have gradually escalated into what some insiders are describing as a breaking point, leading to the dramatic threat reportedly issued by Kerr. Analysts are connecting dots between recent subpar performances in high-stakes games and a perceived lack of discipline among certain star players, interpreting these patterns as potential evidence of why such a bold statement might have been necessary. The rumor mill has not spared social media, where cryptic posts from both current and former players have fueled theories about who might be involved and what might be at stake, creating an environment where facts are interwoven with speculation in a way that intensifies public fascination. Even casual basketball enthusiasts are now dissecting game footage frame by frame, searching for signs that could confirm or deny the ongoing whispers. The combination of media coverage, insider chatter, and fan-driven detective work has created a narrative ecosystem in which every gesture, comment, and rotation decision is analyzed for hidden meaning, ensuring that the rumor refuses to fade quietly despite a lack of official statements. Adding to the intrigue, sources indicate that team executives are reportedly walking a tightrope, balancing loyalty to the coaching staff with the potential backlash from fans and sponsors if a star player is indeed benched. While Steve Kerr's reputation as a player's coach has traditionally insulated him from controversy, this alleged threat introduces questions about leadership style and the limits of authority within a high-profile franchise. Rumors suggest that some team members are privately expressing concern about the psychological impact of such an ultimatum, fearing it could disrupt team chemistry at a crucial moment in the season. Meanwhile, sports commentators and analysts continue to dissect Kerr's public remarks, searching for subtle hints that might reveal whether the reported threat is a bluff, a motivational tactic, or a genuine warning. Rival franchises are reportedly observing the situation with interest, understanding that internal strife within a championship contending team can shift league dynamics in unexpected ways. Even fan groups have divided into factions, debating whether a star player's behavior warrants such disciplinary measures or if the coach might be overstepping professional boundaries. This combination of speculation, insider chatter, and public debate has transformed a single, unverified report into a full-fledged narrative that dominates conversations across media platforms and fan communities, leaving the Warriors' future shrouded in uncertainty. In the midst of swirling rumors, industry insiders caution that the situation is likely more complex than the public narrative suggests, with multiple layers of interpersonal dynamics, contractual obligations, and competitive pressures influencing every decision. While the alleged threat has captured headlines and social media attention, those close to the organization hint that ongoing discussions behind closed doors may ultimately resolve the issue without dramatic public consequences. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.